Hello everyone. By request of the developers, in this video I'll be doing a performance review of the Aegis Gladius. The Gladius, according to CIG's description, is a tried and true older model dogfighter that has been updated to keep up with technology. It's beloved in the military for its performance and focus on dogfighting, and CIG describes it as an ideal interceptor or escort ship. Because of recent trailers for Squadron 42, it's reasonable to believe that the Gladius is still utilized by the UAE on the front lines by the time of the campaign. It's reasonable to assume, therefore, that CIG intends for the Gladius to be still useful in direct combat and not some sort of future equivalent of a P-51 that old men fly around to show off. The developers stated recently when discussing the Buccaneer that the Gladius won't deliver as potent of a gun loadout. Later it was clarified that the new direction for the Gladius is to make up for that loss with a heavier missile armament, though how this ties into the escort interception role is currently debated. Now that we've heard what the developer vision for the Gladius is, let's discuss how it actually performs. For this, we've decided to use the Sabre as a comparison point, as the Gladius falls into its weight class. Not as light as a Racer, but not quite as heavy as a Hornet. Also, because the Sabre was created by CIG so recently, it's believed that it reflects performance closer to what is envisioned for the future. The Gladius beats the Sabre's top speed by 20 meters per second, but this difference is negligible enough in combat that the accelerative ability of the two can still be compared directly. According to XML statistics pulled from the game files courtesy of Malagos, compared to the Sabre, the Gladius has slightly worse lateral and vertical responsiveness, and equivalent longitudinal responsiveness. Responsiveness refers to how quickly a ship can correct its vector and is a function of both acceleration and jerk limitations. Bayer's flight tests tell a different story. First, lateral responsiveness is abysmal, over twice as slow as the Sabre, but vertical responsiveness actually tested a bit better, by about 20 to 25%. Retro thrust is better than the Sabre, but forward thrust is worse. Oddly, boost seems to affect the Gladius less than the Sabre. The Sabre wins in all areas when under boost. The vertical responsiveness sounds promising. The problem is that no matter what ship you fly, once you are beyond a certain point in vertical maneuverability, your motion becomes limited by what your avatar can handle in terms of G-lock, rather than by the ship. Thus, in my opinion, having a vertical accelerative advantage is not as useful as having a lateral or longitudinal accelerative advantage. This, combined with the strange boost fuel measurements, indicate to me that the Sabre is definitely more maneuverable than the Gladius. The ships diverge way more when it comes to rotation. The Sabre can pitch and yaw at 100 degrees per second and roll at a whopping 140 degrees per second. The Gladius can pitch, yaw, and roll at a measly 72 degrees per second. That's slightly worse than the Super Hornet. The Sabre almost doubles the Gladius's roll rate, which is significant for a fighter that seems to favor accelerating vertically. In order to have pitch and roll based gameplay, you have to be able to roll quickly. The strangest part about this is that these attributes were actually reduced recently, in the same patch that CIG announced that it was improving Gladius maneuverability. In my opinion, this indicates that these changes were intentional trade-offs for giving the Gladius more maneuverability, which doesn't bode well for trying to determine if CIG still views this fighter as something that is supposed to be capable of combating larger ships like the Hornet or Sabre. The Sabre continues to outclass the Gladius in durability and firepower. For durability, the Gladius, during tests, takes only about 60% of the damage that the Sabre does when taking shots center mass. It also appears to have bugs that cause its wing to come apart due to any amount of damage, no matter how small. For weaponry, the Gladius is horrible, hosting 3 size 2s, including one proprietary mount for a slightly better Gatling, called a Scorpion, for a weapon score of 6.5, compared to the Sabre's weapons score of 12, obtained from having 4 size 3s. Indeed, it is my opinion that if CIG seems to be moving toward allowing the newer light fighters to carry multiple size 3s, or even size 4s in the case of the Buccaneer, then the weaponry on ships like the Gladius 325A and Avenger need to be revisited. For missile store, the Gladius's ability to carry 8 size 2 missiles beats the Sabre's ability to carry 6. Then there's the bugs, other than the wing durability issue. The most noticeable of these is an occasional constant lateral drift that won't correct itself without resetting the nose or throttle. Additionally, it seems like occasionally thruster performance is lost due to gunfire, even with full shields and no hull or thruster damage indicated. Finally, there's the price. The Gladius sells for $90 US, while the Saber is $170 US. So, does the Gladius live up to its developer description? Is it an ideal interceptor or escort ship? My emphatic answer is absolutely not. Even not counting characteristics that are likely to be bugs, both on paper and in practice, this ship is simply not competitive for combat, and isn't useful for anything else due to it being designed with a laser focus on dogfighting. Therefore, this ship has no place in the universe. It isn't fast enough and doesn't have the weaponry to be used for pure boom and zoom. It isn't maneuverable enough to outterm ships like the Saber, Hornet, or even 325A, and it doesn't have the durability to go head-to-head against anyone, even other light fighters. The only possible advantage lies in the slightly better missile loadout, but given that it doesn't have the speed, maneuverability, or low cross-section to survive booming attack runs, there really isn't a reason why someone looking to deploy missiles would take a Gladius instead of a Gladiator or even a Saber, which is advantageous in just about every other area and only gives up 2 missiles and 20 meters per second of speed in exchange. Anyway, that's my opinion. Those are my thoughts on the Gladius. If you disagree or have thoughts on the matter, please leave them in the comments below, and remember, fly safe.